Darth Vader has been revealed as a new skin for Fortnite. But what is troubling a lot of gamers as well as Star Wars fans is that it turns out James Earl Jones has seemingly returned from the grave to voice Darth Vader. This brings up a lot of topics and a lot of discussion about the proper and appropriate use of AI, especially in entertainment. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side. Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Berry. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast and consider becoming a channel member. Okay, so it's true. Fortnite, which is a very popular kind of P versus P, player versus player RPG game, has done many collabs throughout its dominance in the gaming industry, including Naruto and a handful of others. But of course, now they are working together with Star Wars. Now, I believe they have done Star Wars in the past. I could be wrong about that. I've not played Fortnite. Could Fortnite players in the comments let me know if they have, in fact, collabed with Star Wars prior to this one? I'm just very curious about that. However, what was more shocking to the players was not this seemingly out of the left field collaboration. It was the fact that Darth Vader had been revealed to be a skin you could purchase or earn, I guess. I don't know how it works in Fortnite, to play as. And people were shocked to find that the original voice actor, James Earl Jones, was returning to be Darth Vader. Now, of course, James Earl Jones tragically passed away in 2024. So this led to a lot of debate online. Like, is this an appropriate use of artificial intelligence, AI, to replicate someone's voice for a piece of entertainment? As far as I know, this is the first time that James Earl Jones' voice has been implemented in that way. I don't think it's the first time a voice has been rendered by AI in a film. I think they did that in Rogue One, but it is sort of the first time James Earl Jones' voice has been used in that way, that they used AI to regenerate his voice for the character. Now, in principle, I do have an issue with this. I don't think artificial intelligence should be used to render an actor or their voice or their likeness, or an actress, by the way, to recreate them in some sort of way. I don't have a problem with them taking old footage and sort of using special effects on a green screen or whatever to replicate them if the family or themselves gave them permission, of course. But I do have an issue with using artificial intelligence, create something new and have them say something that they haven't said before, quoting lines they haven't said before. By the way, this extends to politicians, even ones that I despise. I don't think AI should be weaponized in that sort of way. Yes, I said weaponized. The reason for this is this can come up with a whole lot of ethical issues. Like, think about it. For example, there are certain actresses who prefer not to do adult content, and so a lot of times they get replaced with body doubles in films, or they kind of hint at what's going on, but they don't actually do any sort of adult scenes, shall we say, intimate scenes. A lot of times directors have gotten around this by using body doubles and tricky camera edits, and I know that there are a few actresses who have complained about this. I remember Paris Hilton complained about this when she was in a National Lampoon movie. They used a body double to make it seem like she was performing in an adult situation. That wasn't the case. If you're wondering why I'm being careful bouncing around my words, it's because YouTube censors YouTubers all the time. I don't have that problem on Rumble, but because I'm posting this video doubled up on YouTube and Rumble, I have to be careful with what I say. Anyway, so I do have an issue with that because AI could potentially take an actor or actress who is deceased and have them be in that sort of situation. And that is kind of horrific to me. I think that that is despicable. I don't want to see an actor or actress in that sort of situation. I mean, think about the era of what they called the Bruceploitation era, when Bruce Lee tragically passed away, way too young, by the way, when he was seemingly in all of these films. Now, some of these movies he had started to film before his death, and so they finished it with look-alike actors and whatnot, such as The Game of Death. But with other films, they just got people who happen to look like him and would put him in all these really weird, bizarre scenarios and whatnot. It was very off putting. I've watched a handful of them, and they're not good movies. They're just trying to riff and grift off of Bruce Lee. With AI, they can do it through a computer regeneration. I have issue with that. I think that's bad. However, I do have one exception to this rule. If the individual themselves or their family gives permission for that to happen. So in the case of James Earl Jones, he actually did give Disney and Lucasfilm permission to use his voice as Darth Vader for certain circumstances. He recorded a ton of lines for them so that they could replicate it using AI. So in that case, I don't have an issue with this. I believe they also did this with Mark Hamill. Disney and Lucasfilm did this where they could record him as the voice of Luke Skywalker consistently for AI regeneration. And I think his deal starts after he's passed away. Now, that also means, in my opinion, that they being the studios, shouldn't be able to do this for free. I think that if they sign that deal, they should still have to pay the individual or the individual's family every time they use AI to replicate their voice. I think that that is a solid protection. Now, I know it's probably the Screen Actors Guild and that obnoxious tag on that they have with them. They're going to object to this. But see, this is why I think unions are stupid. It should be up to the individual and how they want to care for their family. It shouldn't matter what some weirdo union that has mafia ties allegedly has to say about it. It should be up to the individuals. So I have no plans on downloading or playing Fortnite. It's just not my cup of tea. Gamers, back off. It's just not my thing. If you enjoy Fortnite, great. So I'm curious, those of you who watch my vidcast and do also play Fortnite, do you plan on downloading the Darth Vader skin? Do you plan on seeing how it works with James Earl Jones' AI generated voice? I would love to hear your thoughts and your opinions on it. Please let me know in the comments section below. So, yeah, just to summarize what I was saying, I think it is bad for studios to do it sort of lackadaisically, where they just say, hey, I want to replicate Bruce Lee, and there's nothing you can do about it. But if the actor or actress gave permission before they died, or the family after the fact says, hey, our family member would be okay with this, we're fine if you do it. As long as they get paid, I'm okay with it in that scenario. But otherwise, just for these film companies just to do this, or even video game companies, I think that that is a slippery slope that we don't want to go down on. Now, the reason that this is happening is because of the previous SAG strikes and the Directors Guild strikes. Hollywood studios are innately selfish and cruel. And so, yeah, of course they're going to do this. All of those ungrateful millionaires and billionaires at the picket lines whining about how they want to have more billions and millions. Give me a break. If I was the head of a Hollywood studio and I saw Rachel Zegler out there saying, I should be paid for every second I'm in the Snow White costume. Weird, weird. You know what I would be doing? I would be downloading Grok, ChatGPT, Gemini, and even Gabby AI so fast you couldn't stop me. That is a fact. Those actors and actresses overplayed their hand. They decided to go on strike at a time during an industry downturn when the audiences at large were saying, listen, we don't care what you say, what you want. You're billionaires. You lectured us. You betrayed us during the 2020 lockdowns. We don't want to hear from you. Just shut up and sit down. Shut up and act. Shut up and sing. You're all boring and we don't want to hear from you. You're vapid, selfish, egotistical narcissist. So how dare you go on strike demanding more millions and billions while I'm at home and I can't pay the bills? And no, it wasn't about the underpaid background actor or actress. If it was, those folks would have been put prominently at the front of the picket lines, but it wasn't. It was idiots like Seth Rogen and Mark Ruffalo and Fran Drescher, who for some reason they decided it would be a good idea to make her the head of SAG. She hasn't been relevant for, 10, 15 years? Last time she did a show was called Happily Divorced, which no one watched. TV Land canceled it, I think, after one season, which at the time, TV Land was just putting everything out there. So, yeah, seriously, out of touch celebrities. You did this to yourself. You brought AI to the forefront. But again, I'm against it if the parties involved within the regeneration were against it. If they didn't want it to happen to them, then they shouldn't have to have AI involved in their negotiations whatsoever. However, if the individual's like, yeah, after I'm gone, if you want to replicate my voice or my likeness in a film using AI, as long as you pay my family, I'm fine with that. Good for them. That is up to the individual. Thank you so much for watching today. If you liked that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment on what you think, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. It's a great way to support the work that I do, but another way is to head on over to my website, studiojakemedia.locals.com, where you can read most of my articles for free, or you can sign up at different tiers that are paid, but they unlock all kinds of perks. You can also purchase my books there at the Buy My Books section. If you want more information about my writings, or if you'd like to read some of my poems and short stories, head on over to studiojakemedia.locals.com. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.